You've been looking in all the wrong places. For years, maybe your entire life, you've been taught to look outside yourself for your good. You've been conditioned to believe that your job is your source, that your salary is your source, that your boss or your clients or your customers are your source. You've been trained to think that the economy is your source, that the stock market is your source, that your spouse or your parents or your friends are your source. And because of this fundamental misunderstanding, you've been living in fear. Fear that you'll lose your job, fear that someone will leave you, fear that the money will run out, fear that you're not doing enough, that you're not good enough, that you'll never have enough. But here's what I want you to understand right now, in this very moment. None of those things are your source, not one of them. Your job is not your source. Your relationships are not your source. Your bank account is not your source. These are channels through which your good flows, but they are not the source itself. And when you confuse the channel with the source, you give your power away. You become a beggar instead of a creator. You become dependent instead of self-reliant. You become a victim of circumstance instead of a master of your destiny. God is your source. The universe is your source. That infinite intelligence that created galaxies and sunsets in the human heart is your source. And that source is unlimited, abundant, and always available to you. Always. Not sometimes. Not when you're good enough or smart enough or worthy enough. Always. Because you came from that source. You are an extension of that source. You are made of the same stuff as that source. There is no separation between you and the infinite supply of the universe except the separation you create in your own mind. Think about this for a moment. The universe doesn't run out of air for you to breathe, does it? You don't wake up in the morning worried that there won't be enough oxygen for you today. Why? Because you understand that air is abundant, that it's everywhere, that it's freely available to you simply because you exist. Well, the same is true for everything else you need. The same infinite intelligence that provides air for your lungs wants to provide everything else for your life. Money, opportunities, relationships, health, creativity, joy, peace. It's all available in unlimited supply. But you have to change the way you think. You have to stop looking at your circumstances and start looking at the truth. The truth is that you live in a universe of abundance, not scarcity. The truth is that lack is an illusion created by your limited thinking. The truth is that when you align yourself with your source, when you recognize that God is your supply and not your job or your relationships or your investments, then the channels through which your good comes to you will multiply beyond your imagination. I want you to understand something crucial here. When you make your job your source, you become enslaved to that job. You stay in positions that drain you, that diminish you, that make you miserable, because you believe that job is keeping you alive. When you make a person your source, you become enslaved to that person. You tolerate disrespect. You compromise your values. You lose yourself because you believe that person is your lifeline. When you make money your source, you become enslaved to the pursuit of money. You sacrifice your health, your relationships, your integrity, your peace of mind because you believe that money is the answer to everything. But none of this is true. Your job is not keeping you alive. God is keeping you alive. That person is not your lifeline. God is your lifeline. Money is not the answer to everything. God is the answer to everything. And when you really get this, when you really understand this at the core of your being, everything changes. You stop living in fear and you start living in faith. You stop grasping and clutching and you start allowing and receiving. You stop being a thermometer that reacts to circumstances and you become a thermostat that sets the temperature of your own life. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. You're thinking, this sounds nice, but it's not practical. I have bills to pay. I have responsibilities. I can't just quit my job and sit around waiting for God to drop money from the sky. And you're right. That's not what I'm saying at all. What I'm saying is that you need to shift your consciousness, your awareness, your understanding of where your good comes from. You need to do your work, yes. You need to be responsible, yes. But you need to do it all from a place of knowing that your source is infinite, not limited. That your source is spiritual, not material. That your source is God, not the world. When you go to work, don't go as someone who needs that job to survive. Go as someone who is expressing their divine nature through their work. Go as someone who is bringing the presence of their source into that environment. Go as someone who knows that they are so connected to infinite supply that even if this particular channel closed tomorrow, 10 more would open. That's not arrogance. That's not irresponsibility. That's faith. That's knowing who you are and where you come from. And here's what happens when you make this shift. You stop tolerating things that aren't right for you. You stop accepting less than you deserve. You stop compromising your values and your integrity. Why? Because you're not afraid anymore. You're not afraid of losing your job because you know your job is not your source. You're not afraid of losing a relationship because you know that person is not your source. You're not afraid of the economy or the stock market or anything else in the external world because you know that none of those things are your source. This is true freedom. This is what it means to live in the world but not be of the world. You participate fully in life. You work, you earn, you build, you create, you love, you give, but you do it all from a place of connection to your source, not from a place of fear and neediness and desperation. And when you live this way, you become magnetic. You attract opportunities that you couldn't have planned or orchestrated. You meet people who help you in ways you never expected. Things work out in ways that seem miraculous, but they're not miraculous at all. They're natural. They're the way life is supposed to work when you're aligned with your source. Let me tell you something else. When you make God your source, you stop competing with other people. You stop being jealous of what others have. You stop comparing yourself to everyone around you. Why? Because you understand that the universe is not a finite pie where someone else's slice diminishes yours. There is enough for everyone. There is more than enough for everyone. When you see someone else prospering, you can celebrate that because their prosperity doesn't threaten yours. In fact, their prosperity is evidence that the universe is abundant, that God is supplying everyone who opens themselves to receive. Most people live in a consciousness of scarcity. They believe there's not enough to go around. They believe that if someone else wins, they lose. They believe that the good in someone else's life somehow diminishes the good available for their own life. And this consciousness of scarcity creates exactly what they fear. It creates lack, limitation, and struggle because that's what they're focused on. That's what they're expecting. That's what they're aligned with. But when you shift to a consciousness of abundance, when you recognize that God is your source and God's supply is infinite, you start seeing opportunities everywhere. You start noticing synchronicities. You start experiencing what some people call luck, but what is really just the natural flow of good into a consciousness that's prepared to receive it. You become a yes to life instead of a no. You become open instead of closed. You become a receiver instead of someone who's constantly pushing against what is. And here's something that might surprise you. When you truly know that God is your source, you become more generous, not less. You become more giving, not more hoarding. Why? Because you're not afraid of running out. You know that what you give comes back to you multiplied. You know that the universe responds to givers, not hoarders. You know that circulation is the key to increase. When you hold on tight to what you have because you're afraid there won't be more, you shut off the flow. But when you give freely, trusting that your source is infinite, you open the floodgates. This is a spiritual law. You cannot outgive God. You cannot outgive the universe. Whatever you give, whether it's money or time or love or kindness or service, comes back to you. Maybe not from the same person or place you gave it to, but it comes back. It has to come back because that's how the universe works. That's how energy works. What you send out, you get back. What you focus on, you get more of. What you believe, you experience. So if you want to experience abundance, you have to think abundant thoughts. You have to speak abundant words. You have to take abundant actions. And most importantly, you have to know, really know, that your source is God, not your circumstances. Your circumstances are a reflection of your consciousness. Change your consciousness and you'll change your circumstances. It's that simple. Not always easy, but simple. Now, let's talk about trust. Because this whole thing requires trust. It requires faith. It requires you to let go of your need to control everything and to know exactly how things are going to work out. When you make your job your source, you think you have control. You think you can see the whole picture. You know your salary, you know your benefits, you know your schedule. It all seems very safe and predictable and controllable, but that's an illusion. You don't have control. Your job could disappear tomorrow through no fault of your own. The company could go under. The industry could change. The economy could shift. Your boss could decide they don't need you anymore. But when you make God your source, you give up the illusion of control and you gain something far more valuable. You gain trust. You gain faith. You gain the absolute knowing that you are being taken care of by an intelligence far greater than your own small mind. And this intelligence has ways of bringing good into your life that you couldn't possibly plan or predict or orchestrate. Your job is not to figure out how. Your job is to stay connected to your source, to keep your consciousness aligned with abundance, to do what's in front of you to do, and to trust that everything is working out for your highest good. This doesn't mean you become passive. This doesn't mean you sit around doing nothing. This means you become an active co-creator with the universe. You set your intentions. You follow your inspiration. You take action when you feel guided to take action. But you do it all from a place of trust and faith, and knowing that you are supported, that you are loved, that you are being guided by something far wiser than your ego. And here's what I want you to really understand. When you live this way, when you truly make God your source, you stop worrying. Not because you don't care, but because you trust. You stop lying awake at night wondering how you're going to pay the bills, or whether you'll have enough, or what will happen if this or that doesn't work out. You sleep peacefully because you know that the same power that takes care of the birds and the flowers and the stars is taking care of you. And if it can handle running the entire universe, it can certainly handle your little life. Jesus said, "Look at the birds of the air. They don't sow or reap or store away in barns, and yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they?" This is not a suggestion that you become irresponsible or lazy. This is a teaching about trust. This is a teaching about knowing that you are cared for by an infinite intelligence that wants you to thrive, that wants you to prosper, that wants you to live a full and abundant life. But you have to cooperate with this intelligence. You have to align yourself with it. You have to think thoughts that are consistent with it. You have to speak words that are consistent with it. You have to take actions that are consistent with it. And most of all, you have to know beyond any shadow of doubt that God is your source, not your job, not people, not anything in the external world. When you have a need, don't go to your need. Go to your source. Don't sit around worrying about the need, focusing on the need, talking about the need, complaining about the need. That just makes the need bigger in your consciousness. Instead, turn your attention to your source. Affirm that God is your source. Declare that the universe is abundant. Know that everything you need is already provided. Feel the reality of it. Live from the consciousness of having it, not wanting it. This is the secret that most people never learn. They spend their whole lives chasing after things, trying to make things happen, forcing and pushing and struggling and striving. And sometimes they get what they want, but even when they do, it doesn't satisfy them because they got it from a consciousness of lack. They got it from fear and effort and struggle. But when you come from a consciousness of knowing that God is your source, things come to you easily. They flow to you naturally. They show up in ways that feel effortless and joyful and right. I'm not saying you won't work. I'm not saying you won't put in effort. I'm saying that your work will be inspired rather than desperate. Your effort will be joyful rather than stressful. Your actions will flow from abundance rather than lack. And the results will be far greater than anything you could have achieved from a place of fear and struggle. Now, some of you might be thinking, I've tried this before, I've tried to trust, I've tried to have faith, and it didn't work. Well, let me ask you this. Did you really trust? Or did you trust for a little while, and then when things didn't happen as quickly as you wanted or in the way you expected, did you go back to worrying and doubting and fearing? Because trust is not something you do for a day or a week or a month. Trust is a way of life. Faith is a way of being. You can't mix faith and fear. You can't say, I trust that God is my source on Sunday, and then spend Monday through Saturday worrying about money. That's not trust. That's hope, maybe, but it's not trust. Trust means you rest in the knowing that you are taken care of. Trust means you sleep peacefully at night. Trust means you go about your day with a smile on your face and peace in your heart, regardless of what the circumstances look like. And here's what happens when you really trust. Things start to shift. Sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly, but they start to shift. Doors open. Opportunities appear. People show up. Money comes. Solutions present themselves. It might not be how you thought it would happen. It might not be when you thought it would happen, but it happens. Because when you align yourself with your source, when you trust completely, you allow the universe to work on your behalf. But if you're constantly interfering with your doubt and your worry and your fear, you block the flow. You get in your own way. It's like ordering a meal at a restaurant and then going into the kitchen every 5 minutes to check on it, questioning the chef, telling them how to cook it, worrying that they're not doing it right. You're not helping. You're interfering. Trust means you place your order with the universe, you do your part, and then you let the universe do its part. Your part is to stay in a high vibration. Your part is to keep your thoughts positive and your words powerful. Your part is to follow your guidance and take inspired action. Your part is to be grateful for what you have right now, in this moment. Your part is to treat people with kindness and love and respect. Your part is to be of service, to give, to contribute, to make a difference in whatever way you can. And the universe's part is to orchestrate all the details, to line up all the people and circumstances and events that need to come together to bring about your good. This is how it works. This is how it's always worked. This is how it will always work. And when you really get this, when you really live this, your life becomes a miracle. Not because miraculous things happen, although they do, but because you recognize that everything is a miracle. You recognize that the very fact that you exist is a miracle. That you're breathing right now is a miracle. That your heart is beating is a miracle. That the sun came up this morning is a miracle. That you have food to eat and a place to sleep and people to love is a miracle. When you live in this consciousness, you're not waiting for things to get better so you can be happy. You're happy now. You're grateful now. You're peaceful now. And from that place of happiness and gratitude and peace, you attract more things to be happy and grateful and peaceful about. This is the law of attraction. This is how consciousness works. Like attracts like. What you are, you attract. What you focus on, expands. So if you want abundance, be abundant now. Be abundant in your thinking. Be abundant in your speaking. Be abundant in your giving. Be abundant in your appreciation. Be abundant in your joy. Don't wait until you have more money to feel abundant. Feel abundant now and the money will come. Don't wait until you have the perfect job to feel successful. Feel successful now and the perfect job will come. Don't wait until you're in the perfect relationship to feel loved. Feel loved now by God, by the universe, by yourself, and the perfect relationship will come. Everything starts from the inside. Everything starts with consciousness. Everything starts with your connection to your source. And when that connection is strong, when that knowing is unshakable, when that faith is absolute, then everything on the outside has to reflect that. It's law. It's not opinion. It's not philosophy. It's spiritual law. You are not your circumstances. You are not your bank account. You are not your job title. You are not your relationship status. You are not your past. You are not your mistakes. You are not your failures. You are a spiritual being having a human experience. You are an individualized expression of God. You are divine consciousness in human form. And as such, you have access to all the power and wisdom and abundance of the universe. But you have to claim it. You have to own it. You have to live from it. You can't just know it intellectually. You have to know it in your bones. You have to know it in your gut. You have to know it in every cell of your body. And when you do, when you really do, your life becomes a living demonstration of the power of God, the abundance of the universe, the infinite possibilities that are available to every human being who chooses to align themselves with their source. So let me ask you this. What are you making your source? Is it your job? Is it your spouse? Is it your parents? Is it your savings account? Is it your connections? Is it your education? Is it your talents and abilities? Because all of those things can be taken away. All of those things can disappear. All of those things are temporary and uncertain and unreliable. But God is eternal. The universe is infinite. Your source is unlimited. And when you make that your foundation, when you build your life on that rock instead of on the shifting sands of the material world, then nothing can shake you. Nothing can defeat you. Nothing can diminish you. You become unstoppable not because you're so strong, but because you're connected to infinite strength. You become abundant not because you're so clever, but because you're connected to infinite abundance. You become peaceful not because your circumstances are perfect, but because you're connected to infinite peace. This is the truth. This is the way. This is the life that's available to you right now in this moment. Not someday when you get it all together. Not when you're more spiritual or more evolved or more worthy. Right now, because you already are spiritual. You already are evolved. You already are worthy. You just have to remember it. You just have to claim it. You just have to live it. And when you do, when you wake up every morning knowing that God is your source, when you go to bed every night trusting that you are completely taken care of, when you move through your day with confidence and peace and joy, regardless of what the circumstances look like, then you become a light in the darkness. You become an example of what's possible. You become living proof that there is another way to live, a better way, a way that's based on faith instead of fear, on abundance instead of lack, on love instead of anxiety. The world needs people like this. The world needs people who are not controlled by their circumstances, who are not victims of the economy or the job market or anything else in the external world. The world needs people who know who they are and where they come from and who their source is. Because these are the people who change things. These are the people who inspire others. These are the people who make a real difference. And you can be one of these people. You are one of these people. You just have to choose it. You just have to decide that from this day forward, you're going to live differently. You're going to think differently. You're going to speak differently. You're going to act differently. You're going to make God your source, not your job, not people, not anything in the world. And when you make this choice, when you really make this choice and stick with it, your life will transform. Not overnight necessarily, but surely. Not all at once, but steadily. And one day you'll look back and you'll barely recognize the person you used to be, the person who worried all the time, the person who felt trapped and limited and afraid, the person who believed that their good came from outside themselves. That person will be gone. And in their place will be someone who is free, someone who is abundant, someone who is peaceful, someone who knows beyond any shadow of doubt that God is their source and that they are eternally connected to infinite supply. This is your inheritance. This is your birthright. This is who you really are. And all you have to do is claim it. All you have to do is accept it. All you have to do is live it. God is your source, not your job, not people, not anything external to you. God is your source. Let that truth sink into your consciousness. Let it become the foundation of your life. Let it guide every thought and every word and every action. And watch what happens. Watch how your life transforms. Watch how miracles become normal. Watch how abundance becomes your natural state. Watch how peace becomes your constant companion. This is not wishful thinking. This is not fantasy. This is truth. This is reality. This is the way the universe actually works. And the sooner you align yourself with it, the sooner you start experiencing the life you were meant to live. A life of abundance, joy, peace, purpose, and love. A life where you wake up every morning excited about the day ahead. A life where you go to bed every night grateful for everything you experienced. A life where you're not controlled by fear or limited by circumstances or defined by your past. God is saying to you right now, in this very moment, I am your source. Not your job, not people, not anything in the world. I am your source, and my supply is infinite. And it's all available to you. All of it, right now, not someday. Now. Just trust me. Just know me. Just let me flow through you and to you and as you. And watch what happens. Watch how I provide for you in ways you never imagined. Watch how I open doors you didn't even know existed. Watch how I bring people and opportunities and resources into your life in perfect timing. Just trust me. Just know that I am your source, and everything else will take care of itself. Can you hear that? Can you feel that? Can you accept that? Because it's true. It's absolutely true. And the moment you accept it, the moment you really believe it, the moment you start living from it, everything changes. Everything. So make the choice. Make the decision. Make the commitment. From this day forward, God is your source. Not your job, not people, not anything else. God is your source. And that's all you need to know.
You know what's happening to you right now? That feeling of being completely worn out, that sense that you can't take another step, that exhaustion that seems to have settled into your very bones? That's not the end of your story. That's not you falling apart. That's actually the beginning of something magnificent. That tiredness you're carrying around isn't a sign that you're failing. It's a sign that you're being prepared for something greater than you've ever experienced before. I want to talk to you today about something that most people completely misunderstand. We've been taught to fear exhaustion. We've been conditioned to see tiredness as weakness, to view our depletion as evidence that we're not strong enough, not capable enough, not worthy enough. But what if I told you that the exact opposite is true? What if the exhaustion you're feeling right now is actually sacred ground? What if it's the very place where transformation happens, where old versions of yourself fall away and where something new and powerful is being born? Think about it for a moment. When have the greatest changes in your life occurred? Was it when everything